How's it going, fight fans? It's your boy Joey G from Wrestling Headlines. We are back, and today we are joined by a very, very special guest. She is an icon of the gorgeous ladies of wrestling. Yes, Glow. And you're probably wondering who I'm talking about, so let me give you a little hint. When you meet with her, you better beware. She's really small and debonair. She's the type of girl that never backs down. And today she's returned for her Glow crown. It's Roxy Astor from the Park Avenue Knockouts. Hello, Roxy.
Oh my God, you stole my bit. How dare you?
Listen,
Wow.
I've been waiting all day to do that.
Okay, hold on. Now that you know my name is Roxy, it's obvious that I'm rich and foxy. In the ring, there's no one faster because they can't beat Roxy Astor.
Oh my gosh.
Yours was good though.
I could never match up to the GOAT, which you are. But
Yeah.
I thank you for allowing me to try. Listen, Roxy, it is an absolute pleasure and honor to have you on my show today. We got lots of fun stuff to talk about. You know, we got put in touch by our mutual friend, Mr. Penken, who
Right.
combined and collaborated on all these great essays for this new book, Dream in Your Hands, She Can Do It, where you contributed a chapter called More Than a Wrestler, where you talked about your days in Glow.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. Are you asking or you want me to go for
Oh,
it?
I'm kind of just building you up here as your greatness. So because he loved this chapter so much, he reached out and we were going to talk about how there's a full-on Glow podcast getting ready to be launched called More Than a Wrestler. It comes out July 1st. That's this Friday, and you were the first guest on that show. So we're doing a little cross promotion today. But before we talk about that, I would like to talk about you. And I would like to ask you, my first question is this. How do you feel about the inspiration that Glow has had, not just on the wrestling industry, but for women in general in 2022? Because Glow has, kind of been rebirthed in a way ever since the very popular documentary came out, and obviously the very hit popular Netflix series Glow came out. So, yeah, how do you feel about the inspiration that Glow has left?
I mean, not knowing back then what we were doing or who we were inspiring at, that's number one.
Mm.
But then 35 years later, it's like it's everywhere we go. Somebody says, you know what, you changed my life back then. Like I felt like I knew you. I were you. I did your matches. And I mean, that is such an honor and a compliment when you hear that from a fan that watched us back then. And now we're, 35 years later and we're still talking about Glow. So
Hmm.
it's like you can't even, I mean, I didn't think this would ever happen back then. I was just back in Glow having a good time. Now it's
Hmm.
like, female empowerment, actually all empowerment,
All
everybody
empowerment,
empowerment.
everybody
Yeah,
empowerment.
that's right.
Very, very well said. Well, listen, I mean, those are sometimes the type of great things that happen. You don't realize that they're happening when they're happening, but it just shows you the legacy and the hard work that you and the rest of the girls at Glow did during that time, because it was a very different industry during the 80s and a very different time, especially with the way current society intakes content, and it's all about streaming, and you guys were doing very good ratings up against some very prime time programs. So I think it's something that you should be proud of. Now, kind of piggybacking off of that, the old Glow creator, David McLane, has since in the early 2000s, he launched WOW, Women of Wrestling, which has been one of my favorite things to cover since I started doing this back in 2014.
Huh.
I've been to some very marquee events that I'm proud to say,
Mhm.
both WWE, AEW, New Japan, Ring of Honor, all of these promotions. I think the most fun I had was at a WOW event.
I
Uh,
went to a WoW show recently. I
mhm,
was
mhm.
there.
Yeah, I was going to say
Yeah,
there's a chance that you and I could have crossed paths because I covered a WOW event in 2019 at this.
I was there.
Yes, then you were there when as you
Yeah.
remember, it was at this place in downtown Los Angeles. The acoustics, I believe it was called the Globe, and the acoustics, if not the Globe, something similar.
Cortez or something was,
Cortez, yes, yes. And
yeah,
it's
yeah,
the
that's what it was.
the
Yeah.
acoustics is for a nightclub, and the way the crowd would just blow up in anticipation when some of the superheroes came out. It
Oh
was
yeah.
unlike roars and things I had ever heard. So it's nice to see that sort of the legacy is being carried on. Now, that's what I kind of wanted to ask you about: is if you stay up to date with WoW and and its new owner Jeannie Buss and the new crop of talent, and if you think that they are really keeping the Glow family alive.
Okay, well, first off, I have to say with WoW, I am so proud of David McLane. I mean,
Mm,
he has never given up the dream of WoW. When
mm.
everybody thought it was gone, David McLane would bounce back up and there's WoW. And then we had the pandemic. So I went to the 2019 show and they had the purple, remember those?
Oh, I
What
remember.
were
Yes.
those? I don't even know what, but it said WoW.
I don't
Eh,
know, but I still have one in my
yeah, I
like
have mine
souvenir
too.
closet.
And I brought with my dear friend Matilda the Hun, who had recently passed away.
My
And
condolences, by the way.
Dave,
Mm,
thank you.
mm,
And Dave McLean always acknowledged the Glow Girls. He acknowledged Matilda because they were, I did not know David McLean. I did not work with him. It was Johnny Caparella.
mhm.
So it was Matilda who was close with David McLean and the first season girls. So David McLean didn't really know me. He knew Matilda. So I would bring Matilda to the show and the other girls would come to the WoW shows. But we've always supported David McLean. Anytime there was a red carpet, anything, I went to a show recently, and now some of the girls from WoW are following me, even the costumer, which I thought was kind of cool.
Very
And because I
cool.
love the costumes on WoW. And it's just so neat to see. And sitting in the chair, and you know, that 2019, you look at it, I'm like, I feel like I'm watching Glow on steroids or
Mhm,
something.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
And these girls are amazing and they have these characters, this cheerleader with a coach and some of the girls back from 2019, there was a lot of new characters, but just to see Dave McLean get up there with that mic and talk how he did back in Glow, it
Mm.
was like, it's like he never even changed. I mean, it's still the David McLean. So that was great. And Jeannie Buss is doing a great job. And AJ Lee, bringing her on board, what a smart move. That was great.
I mean, that's the
I saw
thing.
the back of her head, by the way.
I mean, and that's, as you know, the back of her head also pure greatness there.
Oh, absolutely.
But it is nice to see their success. I mean, now they're going to be coming up soon, I believe this fall on
Mhm.
Viacom CBS. Like they have a nice broadcast partner. But because I'm a big have loved watching the old Glow tapes and love watching the early seasons. With your girls' generation, and then sort of like the earlier days of WoW and like the early
Yeah.
2000s, it really is like the most contemporary version to keep this original Glow spirit alive. It's so inspiring and it's so exciting to see these characters that very much could have lived in the Glow world in the 80s also. So it's one of those things. It's kind of like when Hollywood remakes a film, where are they going to pay homage to
Right.
the source material? And I feel like they are doing that very well. And I hope you feel the same way, because I cannot state enough the impact that you girls had during that time. Even for someone like me who was, born '89 and like missed most
Ooh,
of those
so
things.
is my son and my
Oh,
reason for leave and Glow. Ooh, that hurt.
yes, but also still very much it has inspired me and a
Yeah,
lot of wrestling fans today.
right.
Now, here's the thing. You also sort of formed this Afterglow brand, right? When you started getting all the girls together. And I have to ask you about one. Now, as a not
Yeah.
only an '89 boy, but as a theater rat, I have to ask you about this musical that you wrote, or that was the brainchild, the Afterglow '80s musical experience. Can you just talk to me a little bit about that? Because like I said, I grew up as a stage actor. I still do
Okay.
stage acting
Oh,
to this
wow.
day.
Yeah.
And hearing that and kicking myself as being such a big Glow fan and
Yeah.
not finding out about this show until very recently.
Well, it started out as, I did, like, I think it was 3 cruises, and then my mom had passed away.
Mm,
So I needed a break from anything Afterglow. I did my first Afterglow fan party in 2014. So then 3 cruises. And I thought, you know what, let me do a play. Let me bring the original Glow Girls on, and it just, because I'm always going, what can I do? How can I get people, the fans to connect with the Glow Girls? So I thought, you know what? I'll do a play. I'll bring 5 Glow Girls on. Okay, keep in mind, none of us really, except for one, are actresses. So we had to read a script. We had to memorize lines. We had to do, I've never done theater. I've
mm,
done a wrestling ring. So,
right.
we were in front of a camera, but theater is so different. Go to the left, go to the right, do this. So Christopher Carver was our director. So I know we were in good hands with Christopher. He directed Psycho the musical and over, I think, 40 plays. And I talked him on coming on board. I don't know how he talked these people into things, but he was like, yes, I want to do something. He was a Glow fan. So it just, we brought another writer in, and Christopher Carver, and it was just an idea I had that came out, and we were on stage, and it was just like a practice run, like a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at the 1111 Theater in Los Angeles. We end up getting nominated for Best Ensemble of the Decade, getting nominated for Best Director. And I got nominated for Best Making Costumes, and Dan got nominated, who did the choreography for the wrestling, for Best Choreographer.
Oh my
And
gosh, shower this show with
Hamilton,
awards.
behind Hamilton. Now the awards are from Broadway World, and they are of the decade, from Broadway World of the decade. So for Best Ensemble, to me, that was like, that got my heart, because Matilda was in her bed at the time, and I would bring her like these little fake trophies and put them next to her. And I go, look, you got your award. You know, so it was a dream of hers, and that was actually the last project that she did. And on stage, I knew she was sick. See, I'm getting like steamy eyed here. I was just thinking about her today, and so I brought it to her, and before she died, a friend of mine, Robert Wynn, we had another award coming up for most anticipated play and coming to Las Vegas, because we're coming back to Las Vegas. And Robert Wynn told her that we won. So we won that one. So we won 3 awards, and she passed away the next day.
Oh my gosh. Well,
so all this that's going on now with the book, with the podcast, with, you know, everything is like, I'm dedicating to Matilda the Hun and the rest of the girls, but to my girl Matilda, and Angel, who also passed away from Glow. So,
well, from all of us at Wrestling Headlines, you know, we've loved Matilda the Hun, we loved Angel, we love you, and truly should be very, very proud of not only the work that you've done, but now doing it in their name is truly admirable. And if I didn't call you a superhero before, you are certainly a superhero now. More important question. Is that I am right now in Los Angeles, but I'm based in Las Vegas. So I'm going to need details about exactly where this show is going to happen. Because for Wrestling Headlines pushed to the side, Joey G needs to attend this show for himself as someone that
Joey G can have front row seats.
Oh my God. And Joey G will be there. You know, I'd say I'd bring my wife, but I like to have 2 seats just so I could, you know, jump back and forth out of it.
Oh, absolutely. Now we're going to put your wife in the ring. How's that?
Oh my God, she would actually love that. Well, Roxy, let's talk a little bit now just about the because we, as much as I want to keep interviewing you, I do want to be able to promote a little bit of the podcast that you're doing. Now, is this something that you and Penn Ken decided on together? Was it his brainchild, and you decided to help him bring this podcast to life that's going to tell and share a lot of these older stories of the Glow Girls?
Well, okay, so Ken actually reached out to me, Penn Ken, from LinkedIn, and I'm not usually on LinkedIn that much. And I think it was at the tail end of his book, The Dream Is in Your Hands. And he reached out to me, and I'm like, is this for real? Because, you know, you don't believe everything, you know, you read. And I looked,
especially on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And he's, you know, and I looked, and I'm like, okay, well, let me write this. And he said, can you write an essay to your younger self? So at that point, I had nothing, like just nothing at all. And I thought, what can I tell about myself, like in a quick little essay? And I did it. I just sat down, and it just kind of just flowed really well. And I had a deadline. So when I have a deadline, I get kind of nervous, like, is it good? Is it good? And, you know, and Ken was really good about rooting me on, and he was really good through the whole ordeal. I've never done anything like this before. So then I had to give it a title. And to me, the title was very important. And I wanted to call it Life After Glow. I wanted to call it Afterglow. But I thought, what is something that can kind of embody everybody, that everybody can go, wow, you know, Roxy, she's because I was doing this other thing, and, you know, I'm more than this. I'm more than a wrestler. Yes, I'm more than a wrestler. Because I'm a hairdresser. I help with animals. I do so much that is just, there's so many layers to me that more than a wrestler, I think, covers it for me. It covers it for all the girls in the book. It covers it for all wrestlers, more than a wrestler, because there's more to us. And that title, the book came out, it was #3 international, and he has a #1 book on Amazon. It was like, this is like I mean, something big, and he wrote to me, Ken wrote to me and said, hey, why don't you do something, with the More Than a Wrestler? And I said, well, yeah, why don't we? I'm like, sure, I could do that. But I like the way that Ken worked and how he followed up. And he was just so professional. And it was just, he's got these visions. And then we would talk on the phone and we'd work through everything. So I contacted a lot of the Glow Girls, and then he wrote these questions that kind of blew my mind, because I knew these girls, but then I was getting them back in through my email, and I was learning about my Glow Girl friends, So it was like, he's like pulling stuff out of us. That's why this podcast is going to be so unique, because, and I haven't seen the other one. So mine's going to be released on July 1st on 80s Then, 80s Now. If you go to that, he's going to be releasing the podcast.
I believe with some original music too that's coming along with everything.
Oh yes, he's oh my gosh. When I heard the music at the end, even in the beginning, they were like, John was saying, you know what, we're gonna have to copyright this. And I go, well, no, you're not, because it's the original music. It's got a soundtrack coming with it. I go, you don't have to copyright it. So when you listen to the end, I was like, oh, that blew my mind. I'm like, this is beginning to be, become something huge. And I think it's going to be big. I think the fans are going to love it. I think they're going to be shocked. It's something that never has been done before. So I'm very excited about it. I think the fans are going to be very excited about it. I know you will, Joey.
Oh yes, you know for a fact that Joey G is going to be listening and taking.
Yeah, and it's just things that nobody's heard before. So if you're asked different questions, when I do podcasts, I will get the same one over and over again. So when you're asked something different, and then like Ken, he goes in and digs a little deeper, you get a different view. And that's what you guys will see on the podcast.
Sure. Well, views. As again, More Than a Wrestler premieres Friday. Well, this is going to be coming out the day before. So this is coming out. So the podcast is coming out tomorrow. Please give it a listen to on all places that podcasts can be heard. Check out the soundtrack. Check out their first guest, which is the great Roxy Astor, who we are speaking with today. Roxy, I only have one more question for you. And I thank you again so much for joining me, Joey G at Wrestling Headlines. It truly, truly has been a pleasure.
Oh, thank you.
So, in 2022 now, there's quite the wrestling landscape. I feel like because of the way sort of entertainment just in general has evolved, I don't want to necessarily just call wrestling a niche product, because it does have a very deep-rooted fan base and it travels through decades. But there are certain tiers of wrestling fandom. People recognize a lot of people call them casuals, recognize wrestling as one thing, and that's been WWE. But a lot more dedicated wrestling fans who have been following for so long and who now have access. That's the thing that's great about today, is they have access to all these archives of wrestling they never knew existed. Old All Japan Wrestling, old New Japan Wrestling, old wrestling in Mexico, Arena Mexico here, wrestling in South Africa, and of course, the gorgeous ladies of wrestling, who now you're able to find these things either on this great documentary, the series, the Netflix series, or you could find old matches on YouTube even. And this is something
and
Tubi.com, which also has Lucha Underground and all these other wonderful wrestling things. So it really is great now for a wrestling fan, because all that content is out there. So I ask you all that because knowing that all that wrestling content is out there, and knowing that there's all these different tiers of wrestling, where would you place the gorgeous ladies of wrestling in sort of wrestling's giant history book? Because to me, it belongs at the dead center in the heart, because it has so much heart, and you could tell to this day it is still inspired so many female wrestlers that, even there's one girl, Bianca Belair. She's the current WWE Raw Women's Champion.
With the long braid?
The long braid, who continues to make her own gear and do these things that and she's never said it aloud, but a lot that I've seen and read in interviews that a lot of the original Glow Girls used to do, designing their own gear and creating a look and a flavor that is both inspiring to themselves, to young kids, and to other women out there. So back to my question. Where would you say Glow stands?
Wow, where it stands, because when you look back, you got Moolah and all that, even before Moolah. And I love watching the old tapes there. And then, you had WWF, and then you had Glow, and then you had the Attitude Era, and then you have now the AEW. I just feel like, you know, when somebody mentions glow, it's just, I think more people can go, oh, I know what that is. I know what glow is. If you say even some older wrestlers, you're not going to know. But to me, the older wrestlers, you know, like Moolah, who's oh, the other one that was in the,
Mae
who was
Young.
her friend?
Mae Young.
Mae Young. Oh my gosh, my favorite. What they did, and it, even at their age in the ring, I mean, I don't think any of us would do it. And so you have them and Glow, and now you have from WWF, WWE, and now AEW, Impact. And honestly, I just saw a show with Brian Kendricks, if you know who that is from
Yes.
WWE. Yeah, he was promoting it, putting that on, and there was an actual Pop-Tart wrestling and a haystack wrestling stewardesses. So I kind of felt like that was a little bit of glow, very, very campy. It was just like,
Sure.
I've never seen anything like that. And to me, glow is campy, and you took whatever you wanted from it. And if it's empowering people, then we'll put it like smack dab in the middle, because I don't know where else to put it.
I mean, that's where I say it belongs. And I mean that in the highest compliments, because I believe that so much of the history of wrestling, without Glow, a lot of that bloodline and lineage does not exist. So that's part of the reason I ask it. And I thank you not only for answering the question, but for being honest and placing it right where it belongs, right in the middle.
Exactly.
Roxy, you are a superhero. I cannot thank you enough. Anything, please feel free, take this time. I always ask my guests, plug, I know we have the podcast coming out, plug anything you'd like. Let fans know, again, where they could find the podcast, where they could find the book, and what they could expect from Roxy Astor in the future.
Okay, first off, let's start off with the book. The podcast comes before the book, and the podcast will be on an Instagram, 80s then, 80s now, and all of his formats. And there's going to be, I think we're having a podcast, Glow Trivia on Instagram on Thursday to promote the podcast. So the Glow fans can jump on 80s then, 80s now, and you will see a different Glow girl every Friday being released up until they're done, until the book is released on Amazon. So we hope that we have a very good viewing, which I know we will, because Ken has put a lot of work into this. So have I. So have the girls. All the Glow girls are excited, and I've never seen the Glow girls so excited about a project. So and you can find me on Facebook and Roxy.Astor on Instagram and TikTok. I show a lot of my animal videos.
Oh my gosh, yes. And they are quite entertaining. So please.
Yes. Yeah. So we're just all very excited about this. And it's just something that's truly, it's from the heart, and just happy that Ken reached out and said, hey, let's do this. So I think it's going to empower a lot of people, not just women, but a lot of people.
Well, it's definitely coming at a time where we certainly, as a society, could use some empowering. So, Roxy, I thank you very, very much for your time. Good luck with everything, and I look forward to when we get a chance to chat again.
Absolutely. Thank you.